Hi, my name is Lilian Alvarez. I am the co-director of Home is Here NOLA in New Orleans, Louisiana. I am a wife and mother of a 6-year-old boy, Santiago. And yeah, I've been working in immigrant justice spaces for about 10 years now. Um, I first heard of SEIRN a few years ago, and I think initially what drew me to SEIRN was that they focus on work that's being done in the Southeast, especially with our immigrant community members. I don't think that there are many immigrant justice spaces that are around in this region, so it was really nice to just have folks that had the vision to create this space. If SEIRN didn't exist, I don't know how much the Southeast communities and organizations working with immigrant community members would be connected. I don't know how well we would have found each other or how easily. Um, and so, yeah, I'm thankful that CERN has created this space where we can kind of all come together um, and talk about what we're seeing in our region. Working in the Gulf South and then the Southeast, I think that what we see is a lot of people in power really copy each other. And so there's a lot of copycat laws and bills that are passed that affect one community. And it's kind of like a domino effect that we understand that if something is passed in one state, it'll eventually work its way to another. So I think that, having the ability to lean on each other to not reinvent the wheel and learn from what has worked in one community, um, I think that that's really powerful and helpful. In addition, I think that, we understand each other. We know what this work is like. And you do find solace in communicating with people without having to like give tons of context. I think that people just understand what it's like. And personally, for me, because of CERN, I've learned to stand in my power. I mean, honestly, one of the first times that I think I was able to be in spaces that were created and cultivated for Black, Brown, Indigenous community members was at CERN at the Weaving Solidarity retreats. And it was so powerful to me because it was in those spaces that, like I found my voice. It was in those spaces that I felt safety. And you'd think that, you know, having been a leader in spaces and in having worked in immigrant justice spaces, that I would have had that. And I think that what was provided by CERN, what the space that was created and intentionally created, um, was really a place to ground, right? It was really a place to come together, to understand, to talk about the bigger picture, to talk about the roots of systems, to talk about their impact and like the way that these branches will show up, and to talk about how those branches affect each and one of us and divide us all, to talk about um, the systems of oppression and exclusion and how we have been brainwashed to think that, that it's another system or it's something that we're ourselves doing to to impact our existence. It was just powerful to be in a room with folks that had varying levels of experience and of knowledge, and then to come out of these workshops and these lessons and practice activities, um and then have like a collective like either action plan or a motivation to change some things about the way that we move and the way that we work. It was not only learning moments and understanding movements that came before us, understanding how these systems were developed and created, but then also, within our realm, within our scope and our roles, then understanding how like we show up and either perpetuate things or how we can show up and dismantle things. I think that the healing spaces that were created during our retreats were, yeah, they were really beautiful moments of not only reconnecting with parts of like our ancestry and indigeneity, but also I think it allowed us to dive a little bit deeper into understanding the the way that these systems impact our body, physiologically, our mind, our hearts, our souls. I think that a part of solidarity also means just being and just like being present. The safety that was created to just like be able to close my eyes and be next to someone that I had barely known. I think that there was a lot of trust that went into that, which then leads into like moments of connection. I remember with another participant just like locking eyes with someone and ooh, like having an intense moment of, wow, I see so much beauty and pain in your eyes. I know that you've experienced beauty and pain, hurt, moments of joy. And for like the 3 minutes that we were locking eyes, um, it felt like we were in another dimension, and like spaces like that are really powerful, and being able to do that with someone is really vulnerable. And I just appreciate, the thought that went into like creating those small exercises that actually turn out to be, ways to be vulnerable with one another. And if we can't be vulnerable with each other, then we can't be vulnerable to like work together. Because I think that that's a piece of, healing in this work is like we have to trust. We don't have to share everything, but we have to trust that you'll show up. You'll have to trust that I will show up. And we have to be vulnerable with each other to understand that, like, this is my strength, this is my weakness, this is where I need you, this is where you need me. For me, solidarity means showing up. It means you show up for the celebration, you show up to do the hard work. There are systems that just affect so many of us in so many different levels. And so we know that the immigration and incarceration system um, will be faced with blatant racism, colorism, bigotry, transphobia, homophobia, and people are navigating these systems differently. But ultimately, it's these systems that impact us all. And I think that we know that trans rights are immigrants' rights, policies that are affect our, Native New Orleanians, our Black community members, also affect our immigrant community members. And so I think for me, when we're able to call in people to this work, we can witness kind of the ripple effect of what it is to be in solidarity with folks. And so we've heard firsthand from people that are, Black trans community members that had never heard of immigration detention, that had never been to a detention center, um, and went on a trip with us, and they were like, "Oh, the same system that impacts my community also impacts the immigrant community." And it was this light bulb moment of, okay, so the issue is capitalism and incarceration. It's not really what one community is doing versus the other, right? And so I think that for us, it was just more about understanding that just for existing, these systems are impacting us, and like how can we work together? How can we be called into showing up for our communities in different ways? Knowing our role, knowing our spaces. I may not be able to speak about the Black experience, but I can be on a parallel plane, and be there in solidarity with folks showing up. Same with folks about the immigrant experience. So I think that to me is what solidarity is.